Hello and welcome to Darkest Dungeon 2. My name is Realm and I am excited to bring you this current playthrough of Darkest Dungeon 2. Now, my channel is quite small. Odds are no one will watch this. If you are somehow watching this, welcome. I hope this to be as entertaining for you as I can make it. I am more uploading these for entertainment. I want to try putting one together, see how it turns out, and go from there. Now, a bit about myself in terms of Darkest Dungeon 2. I've currently played a total of 2 attempts. I've gotten to the final boss and killed it each time, and my profile level is level 13. That has allowed me to unlock every class up to the Leper. However, I am short the Occultist, which unlocks at level 15. Obviously, I don't have any actual evidence that I've beaten the 2 battles, so this will serve as the game 1. Hopefully, I can beat this and maintain my streak, as well as start a new streak, and if I upload further videos in the future, we'll be able to continue that on.
Do not despair. There is nobility in the attempt.
Alright, start ourselves off. We'll just go through the initial area here.
And sprawling. This hellish abyss extends beyond sanity itself.
And get our characters put together.
The seat of your denial.
So currently, right now, in the early access, we only have access to the Denial Confession, which appears to just be the main game. We're hoping that as the game comes out, it's currently November the 1st, we'll get more and more modes that we can play. So here is my current list of classes. Now, to start off with, who I played the very first time was the standard class you always start with, which is the Plague Doctor, Grave Robber, Highwayman, and Man-at-Arms. My second one utilized the Plague Doctor, the Man-at-Arms, the Outcast, and the Hellion. In this particular one, I want to continue to use the Hellion. I've done a bit of storyline for her, and there's a few more that I'd like to unlock. I really want to understand the best way to build a Hellion. So she's going to sit in front of us. We're going to give the Jester a try. We will also slot in the Leper is going to be another tank, and I'd like to build the Hellion as a tank. So for right now, we will do Grave Robber, and let's go with Plague Doctor. Move ourselves into the valley, and then we will look at our characters.
Sacred and sputtering. The last hope.
So first off, we've got the Yips on our Hellion, who has a 15% chance of blindness every single round. We've got Dark Curiosity, Bloodthirsty on our Plague Doctor. So, Grave Robber and Hellion have the most concerning of our negatives. We'll definitely want to get that off if we have a chance to get to a hospital. Now, to begin with, let's undo all of these. So, one of the things that I really like about the Hellion is she has basically the best stress debuff of every character. My thought to her is keeping her in the first position and utilizing any abilities that do bleed effect. So for instance, Bleed Out will do a 4 damage bleed and applies Winded to yourself. Winded reduces your damage by 33% and stacks up to 3 times. Once you hit 3 Winded, you will not be able to do any damage. But the bleed effects will still continue. Now there's Bloodlust here, which will allow you to remove all stacks of Winded and can be used in the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st rank. But I kind of want to try a build where she doesn't utilize that at all. We'll put in an Iron Swan just so we have a back rank hit, and then we're going to use Barbaric Yop. If it bleeds, if we get out of position, a Breakthrough to move ourselves forward, and then, sorry, we are out that, so we'll take away Breakthrough and we'll use Revelry as our 5th. Next up would be our Plague Doctor. I haven't given the Plague Doctor any additional skills. Either as the Jesters, it's my first time using, and the Grave Robber, I've got a couple of skills. The main one is Dead of Night, which is my only source of corpse clearing at the moment. So I am going to take a quick look here. We will get rid of Thrown Dagger and put Dead of Night in its place. Now the goal for this playthrough, an entire playthrough of Darkest Dungeon 2 will likely be too long for a single episode. My goal is to break this up into one episode per act, for lack of a better term. And that's going to be our progress through the map all the way to each inn. So this is our basic area where we'll have our initial fights, and then once we get through that, we'll hit an inn, and then we're going to go through that entirety of a map and get to the next inn, put a break in there, and continue on after that point. Now, while we're traveling forward, let's take a look at the trinkets that we've got. So we've got a blight resistance, and then I haven't really looked over his. I don't believe we have anyone that cares about range damage. Now, for those that are new to Darkest Dungeon 2, whenever you have an event, your choices are based off of the characters that you have in your party. When you hover over a character, they'll give you an option, and then at the bottom of the screen we have the effects. So every one of these characters right now will give us food and 50 light based on the choice. Later on, we'll have different options available to us, and you might also notice gold borders around each character. When we select an option, those characters will go bold, and that is an affinity gain. So because these three characters all had the same idea, basically help these people, they gain an affinity bonus with each other on the player that was selected. So if I go to relationships for Audrey, we can see that both of these characters got additional pips. They appear to start with a random amount of pips on individual characters. I'm not exactly sure how that system is done yet. It could be random, but further forward we want to gain as many bonus abilities as bonus affinities rather as possible.
You see,
and here is our first battle. So this will allow us to see how our other characters work. So for the Jester, we've got Fade to Black is a backstep, so if he's out of position, effectively he would like to be in the first position. Now he has a Inspiring Tune, which is also a stress reduction. It will remove 2 stress. However, we can only use it if target stress is above 50%. This isn't exactly very good because each character has 10 stress. Whenever they are above 3, they will amplify the amount of negative affinities they'll give to each other. Where we were getting gold affinities for good choices, we get blue for bad. So we are going to start with just a simple slice off, as we'll get bleed stacked on the back one. And for her, we will do a poison dart on the front row to get blight. Okay, we'll just start off with stacking an additional bleed. Now our front enemy here is dead on his first turn. In the bottom right corner, we'll see all of the debuffs. Farthest right, DTH, is death blow resistance. This equates to when they hit 0 health, whether they will die or not. If there is a number there, they will not die when they hit 0. Instead, they will enter death's door, and then the next hit has a percentage chance of outright killing them. Any enemy without death blow resistance instantly dies when they hit 0. So we know right off the bat this target is dead when it comes to their turn. This target here is going to take 3 down to 6, so we want to do a bit more damage to him. Unfortunately, the blight didn't take effect, so he got a turn and a damage. So next up, what we're going to do is essentially pad out our turns. We want to get back to the Hellion because she has the ability to stress reduce. So we're just going to use turns until we get back to Hellion. We'll do a absinthe pull just to get her turn over with. And now she can Revelry, which will reduce her stress, and this target is automatically dead on his turn.
Variable can make all the difference.
Now, one of the interesting things in this game over top of Darkest Dungeon 1 is while you're traveling from position to position, your allies will regenerate health. So we'll notice that Boudicca is at 38, she just ticked up to 41. As you're traveling from node to node, you'll actually regenerate health. So health restoration isn't as important as it was in Darkest Dungeon 1, but stress is extremely important. So now we are in the inn. There are a couple of things that we need to worry about for the inn. First off is the particular inn itself. Each inn has an effect associated with it. The Torch and Crown just gives you a straight 100% heal, meaning that healing items are not useful. So what we're going to do is get rid of some of the lower tier healing items by shift clicking them, and we're just going to leave these apples and cheese because it's 20% health restore. This token here, Whittling Tools, is a -3 stress. We don't require stress reduction on anyone. And this final one is plus movement resistance until the next inn. We don't exactly care about that, so I'll get rid of that just to get it out of our inventory. In terms of combat items, each character can be equipped with a combat item in their combat item slot. I will generally exclusively run Healing Salves and Laudanum. Healing Salve is a heal ability that any character can use, so I could put a Healing Salve onto a Grave Robber, and when her turn comes up, she could use it to get someone off of death's door. The important thing is that combat items do not use up your turn. You can use your combat item and your ability, so they are quite useful. This means that these items here, I'm just going to get rid of and get them out of our way. We also have 2 trinkets. I'm going to give Raven's Reach to my Grave Robber because she does have this Flashing Daggers and Poison Dart, which do deal physical damage. Finally, we've got a Burning Resistance Charm, that we are going to put on our Hellion just to give her more protection as she will be our frontliner. We've also got a storage trunk, so in the bottom left here, we can go to a couple of different places. The Wainwright is our coach itself, and we can slot in this storage trunk, giving us a few more pieces of storage space. We also gained a single mastery point at the beginning of this, which we can spend on any one skill. Now, I'm a fan of getting stress under control, so we can upgrade Rakosha's Revelry here, and what that will allow us to do is, instead of it being a 50% chance of reducing stress on allies, it now becomes a 100% stress chance. For any new players, you will start with the Plague Doctor, spend that into Ounce of Prevention, because Ounce is also a stress reduction, but it only unlocks when you have it mastered. It has a 2-turn cooldown, so you can only use it every 3rd turn, whereas the Hellion is able to use it every other turn. So in the case that we have the Hellion available, I'm going to use it on her. Normally I would use it on the Plague Doctor instead. Finally, we've got a route to select. So we've got 3 options. I don't exactly understand the idea of the sluice. The sluice is an area where you cannot see anywhere where you're going. It is completely random pathways, and it just doesn't seem like the rewards are worthwhile there. As you notice, there's no quest underneath it, and that is quite important to us. Both of these quests give us hope, which is the meta currency that unlocks our profile levels. Other rewards may give us more mastery points, which is really what we want. If we hover over the name, so Grave Calling and Healing Ways, it'll tell us what is available. And then underneath that is the goal. So our goal in the Photor is to confront, win a cultist battle. Our reward for that is 250 hope, and our bonus is Healing Ways. So we will guaranteed scout field hospitals, and there's a 200% chance of field hospitals showing up. Considering our Hellion and our Grave Robber have some pretty awful negatives, we are going to pick this one, and we can now embark.
Overrun with putrescence and rot. rancid crop grows
Now, the first thing that we'll get is our
and
map.
unhorned.
For any people that play Slay the Spire, this will appear quite familiar to them. It's basically our map of directions that we can go. So the first thing that we want to look for is, obviously we don't get to scout everything, so there will be some question marks that we're not currently aware of. The main thing that we're interested in this early on is 1, hospitals, which is where we can cure our effects, and 2, hero shrines. Hero shrines allow us to view the backstory of characters and get additional abilities. So going to this hero shrine will let us finish off the Hellion. Now, I said I wanted to go to hospitals, so we obviously have a decision. Go to the hospital or go to the hero shrine. Now, we have 3 options available. As we can see, each one of them is going to be the same thing. It's going to be some kind of a bonus helping them out. At the bottom, we can see that there are some blue, and these indicate detriments. So, particularly for the Jester, if we give 6 relics, we'll get back 30 fire, some food items, some common items, and I believe some Wainwright items. And because both Odysseus and Audrey like that, we will take that option. The other 2 had similar options, but I didn't care for the stress gain that the Grave Robber would give us, and the Hellion requires us to lose more resources. So, when we get to a crossroads, you'll notice that each character has an opinion of where they would like to go. If you choose that location, the character will recover 1 stress. If you do not choose their location, they will gain 1 stress. So right now, 2 of our characters want to go to the hospital, 1 to the shrine, and 1 to question mark. There's nowhere we can go that will allow all of them to be happy. So next, what I want to look at is the hospitals. So I can see that there's 3 hospitals that we've scouted on the map, 1 on the right here, 1 on the left, and finally this one close by. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the hero story and skip this hospital. This gives us more chance of getting more currency to be able to actually spend at the hospital, and it gives us our hero story. Now, we did get 2 stress from both these characters because we chose the wrong direction. Actually, Parselius got 1 as well. And you can see that they're slowly stacking up. We'll also gain stress as we journey on the stagecoach, so we need to make sure that our battles, we reduce stress as much as possible. So in this case, we are going to go to the Hellion. Now, this is the final story act of the Hellion. I'll try to see if I can track down a overview of the previous stories, or worst case, I'll record one and then attach it in. So let me know in the comments if you would like to see something like that.
Alone and untethered, she wandered the countryside, fighting for sport and soaking her wounds in wine. She sought death at every turn, desperate for a second chance to prove her mettle. But it seemed even that terrible wraith had forsaken her. Her isolation was absolute. Her shame barely concealed by a fragile facade of fearlessness.
And that is the Hellion complete. So we gain Adrenaline Rush, which is another form of removing Winded, as well as Bleed. It is a self-heal as well as lifesteal, but we can only use it when we're below 33% health. And then we have Howling End, which is just a very large damage hit, ignoring defense and giving Wounded. So those don't exactly fit into our idea. We already have a self-heal in form of Revelry, which is not as powerful as Adrenaline Rush because Adrenaline Rush will stack twice. We'll see what it looks like when we master it, but for right now, we're not going to make any change to her. So our next encounter is going to be a resistance, and then if we follow this, what we can actually do is we could go resistance to another resistance and then hit a layer. See how we're feeling for the layer, and then carry up the left side to get to the hospital. So, we've encountered a road battle. Up at the top here, we've got round 1 of 5. If we ever get to the end of the 5th round and all of the enemies are not dead, we do not get any loot whatsoever. So we want to try to make sure that we get that. We'll blinding gas the big guy, who resisted it. And we will... So the Lord has 75% blight resistance. These little guys have 50. So we'll try to stack it on them instead. Diasia will start with the Yop to reduce their damage. And then we will continue again. So once more, we're going to try to stack light. This beast at the back is now in lethal range. He has no death blow resistance. He's at 3. At the start of his turn, he'll take 3 blight, so we no longer need to worry about him, which means we can now move over to this guy. Decia here will do a bleed out on our front line. So as you notice, she only did 4 instead of 6, and that was because she had 1 winded stack. Now that she's at 2, she'll deal even less, but more importantly, we got the bleed on. So the next time that this one activates, it's dead. All we have to worry about is the end character. Now, Noxious Blast here isn't really going to do anything, and the only thing that Marsilius has to attack the back rank is Blinding Gas. So for right now, we will use Ounce. At the very least, that'll give us some more debuff resistances. Debuff the goat, but we don't care because the goat is automatically dead. Now, our Grave Robber is in the very front, which isn't the best place. So we're going to start by corpse clearing. And that'll slide the Lord up, allowing us to stack bleed on him and blight once we get to Marsilius. So a Noxious Blast. At this point, we're just trying to get this as high as possible so that when his turn goes, he takes a very large amount of damage. Now, she's at the back, but this is perfect because we want Revelry, as we need some stress reduction. That right there was a positive affinity, so we got an event that allows our affinities between our individual characters to stack up. This guy here has a death door. As you can see, the damage that I dealt to him just brought him to 0 because he has 25% death blow resistance. But what this actually means is that on his turn, our damages will tick and have a chance at that. Now, he has regeneration. I believe regeneration will hit first, so what will happen here is he'll regenerate 3 health, he'll take 6 from the bleed, which brings him back to death door, and then he gets 1 proc on the blight to try to kill him. So rather than that, we are just going to straight up attack him and try to break through the 75% chance to kill.
Even the big ones.
Our road event is now done, and we continue on. Now, road events. You notice we didn't get a fight up to the Hero Shrine, but we did to this node. That is because of the pathways here. If we are on a broken path, which is the blue, we will always get a road event. If we're on a straight path, the yellow ones, we will not get one. Ooh, Story Bark Resist Flea. So, both Audrey and Boadicea want to run from this fight, as does Marsilius. There's no actual option to fight this fight, which is very aggravating, because obviously I want to fight this, but my characters don't. So in this particular case, we just choose whatever's best. So Audrey wants to flee with no detrimental effects, so we'll use her, and we get some bonuses. Now, what we've done here is we've gotten ourselves a virtue in some form with the 2 characters. So Audrey and Boadicea are now amorous, and they will give effects to each other. They will usually call out during the fights and give each other bonuses, and it is generally a good thing, much more than the opposite side where everyone hates each other. In this case, we are going to go straight through, because we will hit this resistance encounter and then move over to the lair.
Fight, so that others may flee.
We're on a yellow road here, so we won't have any fights up until we get to the resistance encounter. Now, the resistance encounter here has a statement that says reduces loathing. That's this up at the top. Right now, loathing is 2 out of 5 or whispers, and that has no effect. But if the loathing goes up, we'll have to worry about it. Now, the game stopped here because we have another virtue test. As you travel through the map, you'll also get plus and minus affinities, and because we hit the highest level there, it stopped us until it was over. Thankfully, this time, our 2 people here want to fight. Boadicea just wants to charge, and Parcelius wants to attack, but we also have a bonus down here. If we use Parcelius, we will get a debuff on all the enemies where they will have vulnerability, taking additional damage. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing their names. I'm taking a stab at it. So let me know if I'm horribly mispronouncing. Once again, we're going to start with just as much blight as we can. Or as much debuffs as we can, as that is generally the best way. We're going to blinding gas both of these for the chance for 50% miss, which we did get on the Lord. We are not in first to do a bleed out, however we can do it if it bleeds, so we will stack more bleed for up to 5. Okay, I do not like her position, so we will spend her turn just to move her back, and then now we can get a bleed out.
A slow dissection. An unavoidable end.
We'll get more bleed stacking. So both our characters just got sepsis, so we'll have to take a look at that. There's an Amorous proc, where because Boadicea took damage, our Grave Robber took additional stress from it. So there can be detriments to that. Everyone here is quite high on blight resistance, so instead we'll use a battlefield medicine and give our Hellion a little bit of health back. Grave Robber actually jumped and intercepted the hit from the Hellion, which is aggravating because Hellion is our tank and our Grave Robber is slightly low on health. So what we're going to do is stack Blinding Gas up again. That'll reduce the damage intake that we take from them. We will do a Slice Off. Bring in this guy. So this guy will now be at Death's Door when he starts his turn. In order to try to further incentivize that, we could take another swing at him, but I need to do an Absinthe to get her health up a bit. So he's now at Death's Door, which gives him 2 rounds of weakness. Seven damage, 4. We'll do a bleed out, and that'll secure the kill. We're going to do another Absinthe as this blight is hurting extremely badly. And try to get a kill there. Now, because that happened because our Hellion stress is at 5. Whenever it's above 3, you'll get those events where they will effectively bicker and argue at each other. For right now, we're going to Battlefield Medicine just to get that light out of the way. And our goal here is just to have one target left at the end, because we're going to do Revelry a few times to try to get everyone down on stress. Early on, having only one stress source is quite difficult when things spike up quite high like this. So it will give us incentive to get either laudanum or upgrade our plague doctors. We're going to battle ballad our grave robber forward. We'll get so battlefield medicine at this point doesn't exactly matter because our people will heal, but in just trying to give our characters something to do while we're waiting for more stress reduction stacks.
Insidious fears.
Unfortunately, she didn't die from the death's door check on the bleed, so what we will do is do 0 damage because we're at max winded stacks and completely waste our turn there. Let's actually get a kill this time. And again, characters are bitchy because they're at high stress. Fade to black to get our Jester back a row. We have used all of the battlefield medicines, so right now we're at a bit of a bad point. We can't exactly last for too long, so we're gonna try to get a blight stack and get our revelry done. And on the next turn, we will kill the enemy so that we don't take a lot of damage. Good crit. Down to 7. Once again, people are being bitchy with each other. Don't expect that to really land, but at least we can keep adding a bit more damage. Let's fade to black, get ourselves back to position. And we will do a bleed out to stack up some bleeding damage. I would use a absinthe for healing, but I'd rather try to get her into Death's Door so that she has the chance to proc it on her turn. This is 3 to 6 damage. She's got 4. This is also 3 to 6. Fortunately, not enough. So the bleed will Death's Door her, and then she'll still get a full action. Thankfully, she missed with blindness. And Parcilius will try a Death Door proc. Not getting too lucky on that today, but there's our kill.
The work continues.
So unfortunately that fight did not go as well as we wanted it to, which means the layer that we're coming up to, odds are we will not be able to do it. But we will take a look at our trinkets. So first off, max health. We've got a movement resist, a blight resist, and another blight resist. So we will go back to our grave robber, give her the blight resistance, and our jester can take these two for right now. Next up would be our combat items. We've still gotten no interesting combat items, so we'll continue on. We're going to go left here to the lair, and because it's a broken path, we will get a highway fight. What we'll do is, rather than going for loot, we'll use this just to get as much stress reduction as possible. If we can get in a decent enough position for the lair, we will attempt it. And this is a fairly easy road fight, so we shouldn't have to worry too much about the damage output that we'll take.
Suffering strengthens the bond.
Got a good positive between Jester and the Hellion. Now, Jester can actually utilize his stress reduction here because his stress is so high. But as you can see, even with being at 6 stress, we reduced him to 4. He can't stress reduction anymore, and he's still in the range where he will get aggravated at people taking his kill. We'll get a blight out, for right now, we'll do a battle ballad. Get a medicine on our lowest health, which will be our grave robber.
Help impeccably timed.
And let's try to secure a kill. Once again, Amorous procced, and our grave robber took the hit.
In crisis,
Isn't necessarily a bad thing, as the grave robber can heal herself two ways, once with absence and once with corpse clearing. We will do a yop so that we don't do a bunch of damage to him and reduce the damage that we take. We will do a battle ballad. We can use battle ballad to swap these two positions. We'll detonate for the corpse clear, which will also give her a bunch of health back. And we can now medicine Plague Doctor. We have one more charge of medicine, which we'll use on our Jester. And we've got our Revelry back. So we're getting closer. We've got a little bit more. If we can get our Grave Robber underneath 3, I'll be quite happy with that. We'll consume an Absinthe just so we don't attack. And the dodge trinkets won't help us at all. Yeah, the aggravating thing as well is you have to be at 6 stress. Right now she's at half, but it still doesn't work, which is just annoying, to be honest. So battle ballad ourselves forward. Once again, we'll just keep swapping these two. And finally a heal.
Help impeccably timed.
4, we'll do a yop. And then for round 5, we'll actually be able to do one more stress heal. So, based on our order here, our Grave Robber will be last. So if it's possible, we will try to get him lower so that our Grave Robbers can secure the kill. And then we'll get the best of both worlds. A bunch of stress reduction and a fair amount. Okay, so 7 with a blight resistance. We'll just use an ounce.
Empowered. Emboldened.
He gets his attack.
Cooperation.
Revelry for one more tick of stress reduction. And then we will try for a kill. So 4 to 7 means we would need to max roll that. So we'll give it a try. There's our death.
By confronting the past, we learn to face the future.
Alright, on to the lair. Each of these little pieces that are on the road that the carriage runs into actually has a chance of giving you loot. So generally you'll see a lot of people just go absolutely crazy with their cart trying to hit as many of them as possible. So the way that a lair works is there are 3 rounds. 3 fights. At the end of each fight you have the option of taking your loot and leaving or continuing to the next. The final fight is always against a boss. So fighting the boss will be completely dependent on what the state of our group looks like at the end of the first and the second fights. Let's get a blinding glass. Fortunately, he resisted. Both of these goats have plus 50% damage, which is not the best. Okay, we'll have our Jester use Battle Ballad to push our Hellion into the front. We will get a Noxious Blast off on the middle one. Fortunately, it was resisted.
Steady yourself.
Now our Jester is dangerously low. He's not dead. Any damage that he takes next will just reduce him to death's door. So we do have a bit of play area. We're gonna get this bleed out on. Hopefully that will help. Poison dart on that guy as he has less bleed resistance, light resistance, though he still negated it. That was a large hit. Okay. So, we still have the Butcher to go. Let's try to get some more bleed on him. So he needs 4 more damage to be killed. We gotta heal our Jester, unfortunately, so he will get an action. Now, this guy's got 6, so we're gonna try to get a little bit of damage. That'll secure the kill on that one. And we will do a pick. Okay, all we have to worry about is the guy at the back who will be at 1 health. So we will get a battlefield medicine on ourselves. Ideally, I would like to wait until our Hellion can go because she could use Revelry again. I just don't really want to take the hit, so what we'll do is we'll secure the kill. Now, we are way too low to go any further. We're going to escape.
Abandoned or forgotten, it is ours now. Consider all
Now, our party is not exactly happy because of their current state. But we are getting closer to healing. Now we need to hug the left, so we're going to go into the question mark. And that will be a Cultist Encounter. Great! So we've got 2 fights coming up. Our road fight, we just need to stabilize each other's health, and then we can do a Cultist Encounter, which can be scary at the very beginning, but I think we've got this. Unless we have the frickin' Brigand for our road fight. Yeah, this is going to suck. Okay, first things first is get the hatchetman out of the way.
A slow dissection. An unavoidable end.
Unfortunately, the cannon has 200 of all debuff resistance, so there's not too much that we can do there. What we will do is just get a stab. And he is dead on his turn, which means we will spend time doing a Revelry for stress reduction. So the way that the cannon works is every turn it will do a load shot, and then the subsequent turn it'll actually do the attack, which hits very hard and will likely death door any character that we have. I will Dead a Knight just to get it into the front position. And we will take a slice at it. Our second rank here is stealth, so hopefully that'll help for the damage that we're going to take. But what we will do is not blinding gas because it's not in the 3rd or 4th row because I got rid of the corpse. Well, that was stupid. We'll do an ounce for right now. And here comes the hit. So, fair bit of stress from it. What we'll do is a Yop to try to reduce its damage. Did not work. And an Absence to heal. The odds of killing this are going to be extremely low It has quite a lot of block we have to chew through. It has 44 health. Really, we just want to outlast this fight. So we are going to instead just focus on keeping our people as high health as we can. See forward, which we can deal with.
Cooperation is the
Once
key.
again, we've got the load shot. We'll do revelry. And she doesn't have a forward ability, unfortunately. So for right now, we'll do a pick, which can at least bypass block. We're going to fade to black so that our two here take the brunt of the hit. Both of those are good. We'll just get rid of the block in case we can do a hit. Thankfully, blindness helped us there. Let's get a Yop, try to get the debuff. Damage reduction. She is not low enough for the Absinthe to be of any use, so we'll Poison Dart instead. Get ourselves to the rank 5. We've got one more stress reduction that we can do. Everyone is completely free of stress except for our Grave Robber, but at the very least it will let us get her out of 4. Now, the other thing is this cannon won't fire again. This turn it'll do a load because it's already shot, and we're done with it. It'll only ever fire twice when we're in these kind of rounds. So this is purely a regenerate as much as we can fight. Or round. And that is the combat. We don't get any pop-up because we didn't kill it within the 5 rounds, but that is more than happy as our caravan condition is much better than it was. Take a quick look here. We still don't have anything I care about. Now we'll go to our Cultist Encounter. Now most Cultist Encounters are going to work similar to a lair. There'll be a number of fights that you can do. This is interesting. So based on what I understand here, this would give us some type of buff and it would shuffle them, where this one will give them a debuff and blight. I like the idea of debuff and blight, so we will take that. None of them started with blight, so I guess I wrote that wrong. Oh, I see. It's a debuff of their blight resistance. Grave Robber gained stress because her partner was hit. Now we just have to worry about getting rid of dodge tokens.
The slow suffering begins.
All of these enemies also have plus 20% death blow resistance, so that is going to make them a bit more tricky to deal with. For right now, we will try to get a bleed out rather than the stress heal, which obviously didn't impact at all. And blinding gas just to get rid of the final dodge at the back, or one of the final dodge sticks at the back. Flash daggers.
The slow suffering begins. The slow suffering begins.
Alright, our first Death Door proc. As with the enemies, we also gain weak on our attacks. We're going to use a Revelry to get her off of Death Door and a Stress Heal for everyone. We really need to start applying some debuffs here. And there's our second Death Blow. Death Door check, however, we can utilize Absinthe to get her off. It'll accept it. She also gets dodge tokens, which is great for her being up at the front line like this. Meanwhile, things just keep stacking. So this Face Your Confession is stacked up to 2 horror a turn. That is terrifying. Let's get Blinding Gas so we can get rid of these tokens.
A miscalculation, perhaps.
Nocturne Commune, so it's buffing up to do an auto crit on the next turn, as is the other one. So realistically, we need to try to get as much of them killed as possible. This one has 3. That Cherub should be dead, provided that this Death Blow resistance doesn't affect them, because they have 0 Death Blow resistance base, whereas these have 20 now. We'll see how that exactly works. She has 1 health left, but no ability to deuce it. They both have dodge. Let's see if we can get a Yop on them. That at least weakens their damage. That one's dead, so we will Poison Dart the back. Keep trying to stack that up. Okay, that at least gives us something to hit with our Grave Robber for a health heal. We're going to Death Door on both of these though, so this is where it will get tricky. We have a chance of our characters dying here. Now, if we look at our setup here, no one else is going, so we can Battlefield Medicine to make sure that one of them lives. I'm going to make sure that she lives, as she has a 10 damage bleed on her. And we will try to get a bit more debuff. It's 9 damage, so her next... This one's next turn, it'll be reduced to Death's Door. Let's get a Revelry going for an additional heal, as well as a stress reduction, and we just have to hope that we survive the Death Door check. Dead a Knight, and we're off of Death's Door.
Wonderful thing.
Our characters have so many diseases right now. It is actually slightly concerning. We are going to Inspiring Tune, just to try to chunk down a few more. That is on Death's Door. We get a Battlefield Medicine to get rid of this bleed.
The slow suffering begins.
One of the problems with these cultists is they love applying egregiously large amounts of bleeding on our characters, so we do have to be careful about that. Bleed out missed because of blindness, and we will do an Absinthe chug here to keep her going. Decent amount of dodges, which is quite helpful for us. Now, we're really hoping that this Evangelist kills itself on its turn, so we are kind of holding off on dealing with attacking that one. Let's get a Slice Off attempt. We will do a Battlefield Medicine to get rid of the bleed. That's our last Battlefield Medicine charge, and it did die perfect.
Empowered, emboldened.
We've got a revelry up for stress reduction. And a detonite for some healing. Okay, inspiring tune ourselves. Noxious blast the back one. Resisted, of course. Another Nocturne Commune, so this will be an automatic crit on the next turn. We are going to hope that we can chew through her health, though. Let's get a Poison Dart for some Blight. Nope.
Steady yourself.
2 damage bleed on each of them. They will have enough to survive that. Let's get Blight on the Cherub.
A slow dissection. An unavoidable end.
And a bleed. So our Hopeful proc actually allowed them to double attack. So our Grave Robber got a free attack and proc the Death Blow kill, which is great. We should have, yep, one more Revelry.
Empowered, emboldened.
She is getting lower, but we're going to get a Poison Dart out. We're just gonna try to hit lethal this time, this turn. So let's Noxious Blast. It's at 4. On its turn, it will take the Death Door, but will unfortunately still get an attack because our Grave Robber keeps constantly getting dazed. I believe that's from a disease that she has. Let's do a Fade to Black. Fortunately, didn't get a kill. This one has quite a lot of Death Blow resistance, it appears. I'm gonna Detonite just to get her a bit more health, as she's quite low. Let's try it again. There's our kill.
Righteous action. Experience, however painful, is the greatest teacher of
So,
all.
we've got a Dark Impulse and a Cultist Relic. These two combined together will activate. So this Relic here won't do anything on its own, but if we have the Dark Impulse, we'll get a 50% bleed resistance.
The loathing abates.
Now, if we take a look at our pathway, we've got quite a lot of events to go through. And we're at about an hour's time
Facets of the
here.
same stone. Never one
So we are
without
going
the
to put
other.
a cut in here. We will continue on the next episode. Thank you very much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.
Consumption.